All right, we'll wait for everybody to sort of settle. While we do that, if anyone wants to ask the candidates a question, when you came in, there were ladies there with index cards. So if you still are sitting and now you think of a question, you can go back there and grab an index card and fill the question out, and they'll bring it to me. We take a look at all the questions. If your question is not asked exactly the way you wrote it, it's only because we try and look at it for clarity, and we may combine it with other questions that were very similar. So as we get started tonight, thank you all for coming out to the Oldsmar. I love coming here. It's always such a pleasure to come here. And so thank you for coming out to the forum. My name is Tanya Landry. I'm the president of the League of Women Voters for North Pinellas County. We enjoy coming out to do these forums. And when you came in, we have our league members back there. We have Carol, we have Lois, and we have our student member, which we're excited about, Riley, who's in high school and interested in working with us. We also have our timekeeper here, Sue Cornett. Sue has the paddles up, which she will hold up to let the candidates know how much time they have remaining and the important stop. Sue is also a former high school teacher, so she knows how to make you stop. Okay? So no worry about that. So as I said, if you haven't filled out the questions, get a card, fill it out here. I'm going to give you a little bit of background on the League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters has been around for over 100 years. Many of you know it was born out of the suffragette movement so that women could have the right to vote. So all these years later, what are we still doing here? We are a nonpartisan. That means we do not support any candidate. We do not support any political party. We study issues, and we may come out with a position on issues. We are grassroots. We get our money from our members and also from donations. The League also is for women voters, but the League has men. So if there are any men out there who are interested in working with a bunch of ladies, join us. We'd love to have you. Right now, we're also working on, our motto is empowering voters and defending democracy. So what does that mean now? We work to protect and expand voting rights and ensure that everyone who is eligible is represented in democracy. And the League conducts voter registration. You've probably seen us out somewhere. Voter registration, voter information, candidate forums. We are working with high schools to have peer-to-peer registration so that high school students can learn about the importance of voting and getting involved in civics. We are also working on college campuses to provide assistance to college students who are interested in registering to vote, but also talking to college students about participating in civics and maybe running for elected office. We also produce a voter guide, which many of you may have used, and it will be available for this municipal election as well. You would go to vote411.org to get that information. So for this election, we want to make sure that you know that the election is March 11th, and if you vote by mail, you will need to re-request a mail ballot. So many people still don't understand that you need to do that. That is a result of a law that was passed about 2 years ago, SB 90. So if you vote by mail, or if you have a neighbor who votes by mail, and they're waiting for their mail ballot, but they didn't re-request it, please knock on your neighbor's door and make sure they know that they need to re-request a mail ballot and help them do that. You can do that by going to the Supervisor of Elections website, and there's also information on the Oldsmar website I noticed as well. So for tonight, we are here to listen to the candidates. They're going to provide their vision and information for you to make informed decisions about who's going to lead your city. The format for tonight is going to be, we are going to start with our council candidates. And what we're going to do is they will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. They will have a minute for questions. They will have 1 minute to ask each other a question. So a little bit of curve we're going to throw in there. They'll have a minute to ask each other questions, and then they'll have 2 minutes for closing statements. And with that, we are going to begin. There was already a coin toss, and I understand that, Sean, you won?
Doing the pledge.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, for the city? Who leads the pledge for the city?
Sure, I can.
Jason? Yeah.
Sure.
I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me.
Yep, if you stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Sean. All right, and we will ask everyone to hold their applause until we're finished with the council section, and then you can applaud. All right, opening statement. Sean, you have 2 minutes, please.
All right. Of course, I must open with gratitude. I'm so grateful to my wife, Heather, for her love and support and encouragement on this journey of ours. Thank you to the Chamber for hosting and the League of Women Voters for moderating tonight's event. And last but not least, thank you for everybody for attending and the millions of viewers at home. And next, a famous quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson: "What you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say." And I open with that because we need leaders in our city who take action and lead by example. Our children and future generations are watching and relying on us. The only opponent I have in this campaign is myself. My challenge is to articulate the knowledge and experience I have with you tonight, in addition to my love and passion for Oldsmar. I've watched nearly every council meeting since 2018, and after graduating from the Janice Miller Oldsmar Citizens Academy, I've been involved serving on city volunteer boards since 2021, namely the Charter Review Committee, the Board of Adjustment, and the Canvassing Board. I've lived in Oldsmar since I was in the 2nd grade, so next year that'll be 30 years. And from playing baseball at Oldsmar Little League to skateboarding and riding dirt bikes all over town to now as an adult raising not doing it, raising my own family, experiencing everything that the city has to offer. I have a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from USF, and I've worked in the design and manufacturing industries from motorsports to medical devices. A decade ago, I started my real estate business here and have since been the managing broker for a team of 80 real estate professionals. I'm a leader by nature, and I take pride in, again, leading by example to influence others. I look forward to tonight's questions and continuing the dialogue during my campaign.
Thank you. All right, David.
My turn, okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for all attending tonight. My name's David Pratt. I'm the virtual unknown in this little race we're having tonight. And I'm going to try to squeeze 40 years into about a minute and a half here. So I'll give you a little background about me. Originally, I'm from a little town outside of Rochester, New York. I worked for a small, built about 800 homes a year, developer, building single-family homes. I worked with the planning board, the zoning board, architects, engineers, all facets of the cities that we were building these subdivisions in. After that, I worked for a small construction company, and very similar job in that I worked with all the different municipalities in different cities, which made it quite unique. In 1999, we moved down here to Oldsmar, Florida, and called it our home. In about 18 years ago, I got my real estate license here in Florida. I've built a very successful career. I've decided that after 16, 17 years, I would start giving back to the community that we love so much. I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce, the Upper Tampa Bay Kiwanis. I recently joined the Moose Club. I've got my 2 kids. They're both married. They're both teachers. One teaches locally, and the other one moved up to Harrisburg. So let me just say that I have 30 seconds left. I look forward to the whole process here. It's kind of new. It's kind of exciting, and you know, I thank everybody for their support. All the citizens have been so genuine. I've knocked on a lot of doors, and it's been so nice to meet a lot of you. So I hope to see you all again and talk to you all individually if I have a chance. Thank you.
Thank you. And so you'll get the first question now, David.
I do.
Yes, you do. Lucky you. All right. Code enforcement or lack thereof is a major concern to many residents. Do you have any ideas to streamline the process and to make it more successful and efficient?
Well, I think what needs to happen here is that the city council kind of needs to review with the city manager and maybe set up a team to go out and kind of see what these issues are, so we can prioritize the code enforcement and report back to the city council and what they find. I hear this quite a bit about code enforcement As I was walking around and knocking on doors, people were asking questions about this, that, this old rundown house here, boarded up houses there, junk cars in the driveway. Hey, where's the code enforcement? Where's the code enforcement? So I think it's very important that we do set up some sort of a system, with the city manager, where they can go out and set a council up maybe and come back and review to the city manager with some recommendations on what we can do to help improve this. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Sean, same question. You want me to read it again?
Please.
Sure. Code enforcement or lack thereof is a major concern to many residents. Do you have any ideas to streamline the process and to make it more successful and efficient?
In terms of the way that code enforcement is set up now, it's more or less reactive in the sense that the code enforcement officer is not necessarily driving around looking for issues unless they are presented to the code enforcement board. And the reason for that is to give the residents an opportunity to make corrections and fix the potential code violation. And I appreciate that because not everybody's sometimes the code violation is a financial issue where they don't have money or funds to, say, repair a fallen fence. So I think that process is appropriate. Yes, there can be ways to improve that. But, I think, again, in terms of reporting the code violations or potential code violations, I know people are concerned with giving their name. And that's something that's preempted by state law. So I'm out of time, but thank you.
All right, and you get the next question, Sean. The next question, how will you ensure that all community voices, not just the most vocal ones, are heard and represented in Oldsmar?
I think that starts with the council and, during our campaigning, understanding their messages, their concerns, and relaying that into policy. I mean, that is the job of the council, is to establish policy, right? And make changes, make improvements. So by starting with the community leaders, the city council, and listening to the voices of the residents, I think that's where it starts. I think the communication that the city does is top notch. If you go on their website, there's a full page just listed of frequently asked questions. We've got periodic magazines, social media, all day, every day. It's available. But the citizens really have to engage, and that's something that I think every municipality struggles with, is civic engagement, but I'm a pure advocate for increasing engagement.
Great, thank you. David, same question.
Could you please repeat the
Sure.
question?
How will you ensure that all community voices, not just the most vocal ones, are heard and represented in Oldsmar?
Well, that's a real good question, and I thought about this because, we do have a great way to get information out there through our website, through social media, et cetera, et cetera. But a large part of our community is seniors, and a lot of seniors aren't really good on social media, on, getting on websites, reading that, and a lot of people just don't want to take the time. I think that if we advertise more, let's say, open forums where we can invite the people in and say, hey, we've got a conversation or a subject we want to talk about tonight. Let's bring the people in. Let's say, hey, we got an issue on this, and this side agrees and this side disagrees. Let's try to bring these people together so they all have an understanding of what's going on and they all have a good reaction to, how government works, instead of, all this stuff like, well, I don't know what goes on at city council. I don't want to drive up there. Well, let's bring them in. Let's bring these people in and get them involved in the city. And that's my idea. Thank you.
All right, David, and you get the next new question. What do you consider as the top priority for the city of Oldsmar, and what are your plans to address it?
Wow. There's actually many, but if you would have asked me that question before the hurricanes, it would have been one answer. Now you're asking me the question after the hurricanes, and that's an entirely different answer. Before the hurricanes, it was the downtown development. That was a big issue. After the hurricanes, it's, hey, what are we going to do for our citizens here that are still hurting? It was, it seemed to the citizens that I've talked to unorganized. I talked to many of them. It took too long to pick up the trash. We didn't know what to do with this. We got information on how to stack the trash too late. We already piled it up in bundles. You know, those were issues that happened. And I think what we need to do is we need to develop a long-term plan on how to handle these disasters, and so we can be more proactive instead of reactive. We have hurricanes here every year, so I don't see why we can't really get more involved in this and get more in depth in this. Thank you very much for the stop sign,
Sue's doing her
'cause
job.
I'll go on forever.
All right, Sean, same question. What do you consider as the top priority for the city of Oldsmar, and what are your plans to address it?
So I'd have to agree with David, you know, asked this question a few months prior to the hurricanes, we'd have a different answer. And I think, or I know right now, number one priority for the city is the storm recovery efforts. The city, actually, not just the city, ask anybody, probably in this room, I don't think anyone was prepared. I don't think anyone has the answers or had the answers. So I think we're gonna take what we've learned from this process and experience and get better. I mean, that's how hopefully everyone's mindset works is, you know, you have some mistakes, you have some setbacks and challenges, and you just improve upon that. But I'll say the City Hall site was clean of debris, and we were going to a wedding down in St. Pete, and there was debris still on people's front yards. So I do think the city did a great job of the recovery and cleanup process, but there's still room for improvements, of course.
All right, thank you. And you get the next question. Many Oldsmar residents are upset that the city installed traffic calming devices along Shore Drive and then removed them and kept the devices along Lafayette Boulevard. If a downtown area is constructed, how will you address the traffic and safety issues along other streets such as State Street and St. Petersburg?
So enhancing public safety is one of my areas of focus for my campaign. And it's important to me. And I think whether they're speed tables, speed bumps, stop signs, traffic calming devices, whatever's used, they're used for the right reasons. We live just off of Lafayette, so I am a 100% advocate for keeping them on Lafayette. And reason being, there's a park across the street where our daughters cross to play. So I've seen countless times with and without the speed bumps, the people are still speeding. So again, getting some data from city staff, from consultants, anything we can do to improve safety, I'm 100% advocate for. Thank you.
Great, thank you. David, same question.
Could you please repeat that?
Sure. Many Oldsmar residents are upset that the city installed traffic calming devices along Shore Drive and then removed them and kept the devices along Lafayette Boulevard. If a downtown area is constructed, how will you address the traffic and safety issues along other streets such as State Street and St. Petersburg?
Well, let me first say, I drive Lafayette probably 15 times a day, and those are the most obnoxious things I've ever driven over in my life. You know, you drive behind a 4x4 truck that's got mud all over it, and they roll up to them, they stop and go over them gently, and then you get a little Ford or a little Honda Civic, and they go flying over them. So I don't know if they're serving the purpose they're meant to serve there. There's the way they were located, where they're laid out. You go over one speed bump, they stop, go over the speed bump, they go, you know, 50 feet, and then there's a stop sign. I think the layout of those speed bumps are just not done right. I think that, you know, if we were to implement something like a speed table, which the DOT has plans for those, you know, it's part of the road. You know, you drive down that road, they look obnoxious. And that's our entranceway to Veterans Park. So, you know, there's other ways that we can control traffic. I know they're looking at a roundabout program on St. Pete Drive. You know, that's one way to do it. But, you know, the sheriff deputy is pulling.
Finish that one thought, and then that's it. You can finish the thought.
I can, huh?
Yes, quickly.
They're pulling cars over all the time. They're pulling them over into the speedway right there. Why don't they sit on Lafayette there? I mean, they're pulling a car. If there's such a speeding problem on Lafayette, let them sit there.
Thank you, David.
And then
Thank you.
pull them over there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're going to get the next question to start here.
Good.
What are your suggestions for improving environmental sustainability and protecting our natural resources, especially given back-to-back hurricanes?
Well, you know, that's a really good question. You know, and that also goes with development. You know, we're talking about all sorts of new development. We've got the library project. We're going to have a downtown project depending on, or however it ends up looking. I think that it's important that we keep our parks, make sure they're taken care of, make sure that we don't overdevelop, and that we leave some green space in all our areas. That way we can help, you know, maintain the environment that we have and, you know, try to marry these two together so they can live successfully. Thank you.
Thank you.
Give back 5 minutes, 5 seconds.
All right. Sean, same question. What are your suggestions for improving environmental sustainability and protecting our natural resources given back-to-back hurricanes?
So I'll just make a quick comment on the last question regarding Lafayette and the police officers. They do pull people over. My mom's watching. She was one of them. Sorry, Mom. In terms of the sustainability of our city and natural resources, I mean, as the city's got roughly 40% already reserved for parks and preserves, I think that's a great start for preserving our natural resources. In terms of climate resiliency is kind of part of that question. The city is looking and actually has in process a climate resiliency plan, which is looking for options and ways to be more storm ready and essentially redirect storm surges. I know they received a quote, and don't quote me on this, on the quote, but it was, I want to say, $44 million to diverge the water under culverts on Lafayette. And so, I mean, I know that the city is working on projects such as that.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, and you'll get the next question. That will go to you, Sean. What are the top 3 issues you hear from residents on the campaign trail, and how have you responded to what their concerns were?
The top 3 issues that residents are sharing with me is really what we're talking about. Storm recovery is number 1, first and foremost. Number 2 is going to be downtown development. It's been a hot topic for, I don't know, 30 years. So that's a hot topic. And then the one that's not really as exciting is the infrastructure. So whether that's safety in the streets or the speed tables or, you know, elevating the control center at the wastewater treatment plant. Those are really the top 3 issues and concerns that citizens have, and, you know, happens to be part of my areas of focus. So I'm excited and looking forward to it.
Great, thank you. David, same question. What are the top 3 issues you hear from residents on the campaign trail, and how have you responded to them?
Well, storm preparedness is number 1 that I have heard. Number 2 is nobody that I've spoken to wants to see high-rise buildings in downtown Oldsmar. That's been a big thing every door I knocked on. What are they doing downtown? What are they, you know, I hear they're going to build 6-story buildings and high-rise buildings. The other thing that I've heard a lot about is code enforcement. People say, I've got this house next door to me. I call the city. Nothing seems to happen. We've already talked about different ways to handle code enforcement, storm preparedness. I think we really do need to get a long-term and short-term plan on that, so we're more proactive than reactive. And we're going to see what's going to happen with the high-rise downtown development in the near future, I'm sure.
All right, thank you. And you get the next question, David. This year's budget is very tight and made worse by the cost of the hurricanes. What are your ideas to bring new streams of revenue to the city?
That's a real good question. You know, we get the majority of our tax base from our brick and mortar stores and businesses in the city. And I think what we need to do is looking, you know, possibly getting a liaison for the city to go out there and bring new businesses into the city. That would help offset some of these costs. Right now we have businesses that are leaving. We need to, instead of having the businesses leave, bring businesses in. I think if maybe we get a task force together, we decide, you know, how to handle it, and maybe hire a team of people to go out and work on this. Another big important part of this is, you know, the person that sits in the center chair here, the mayor. The mayor needs to go out and communicate with different municipalities, Tallahassee, the county, to help promote the city of Oldsmar, so that we can, you know, bring more revenue in through the businesses, that really make up the downtown Oldsmar. Thank you. I finished
Thank
that one
you.
in
All
time.
right, Sean. This year's budget is very tight and made worse by the cost of the back-to-back hurricanes. What are your ideas to bring new streams of revenue to the city?
I apologize. I have to go back to the last question and comment related to downtown. I'm sure there's going to be more discussion on that, but there are no high-rises going downtown. It's not even allowed in the code. By definition, a low-rise is 1 to 4 stories. A mid-rise is 5 to 9. The code allows 6 stories. So, in regards to economic development, I actually met with the Pinellas County EDC yesterday. And the biggest things, as David mentioned, is bringing businesses here and recruiting them. So we have the chamber, which is, I'd say, free of charge to the city. If we hire a liaison, that's going to cost taxpayers more money. So again, we need to recruit talent and recruit industry to our city. And some ways to do that is to partner with our local government, our Pinellas County, our regional, and our state legislators in order to recruit the talent here. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And you get the next question. Being a part of the community is important. Can you share what you've been involved in during the past 5 years and how it relates to this community?
Absolutely. As I mentioned in my opening statement, I've been involved serving on volunteer boards since 2021. The Charter Review Committee was a big one during that year, and later the Board of Adjustment. I've been a part of the Board of Adjustment since then, and also the Canvassing Board last year. I've been a member of the Chamber of Commerce since 2018, and Oldsmar Cares, a big advocate for Oldsmar Cares. I spend my free time, all of my free time, helping the community, especially after the storm cleanup. I think we did a really good job rallying together and doing what we could to help each other out. So active in the community is right up my alley.
All right, thank you. David, same question.
Okay, before I answer that, let's go back to a previous question.
Okay, I'm going to say one thing here. I let you all get away with that before, but this is a forum and not a debate, so I will let you do your response, but there will be no more responses. You can do it in your closing statement and make notes about what you want to say, that your other candidate, what you want to speak to, but if I ask you a question, I'd like for you to answer the question, please. Thank you.
So not,
So you can
Just one
quickly
time.
respond
okay.
and then answer the question that I ask.
Okay. The code states, you're right, 6 stories. That would be the tallest building in Oldsmar. We don't need any tall buildings in Oldsmar. It will take away from the community feel that we have, especially being apartments. As far as the other question with the liaison, that would end up paying for itself if they could bring new businesses to this town. I'm a member of the Kiwanis. I help raise money for the children. Kiwanis, as most of you know, is all about the kids. I've been a member of that for a couple of years now. That's one of the main things I do. I'm also a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and I help out there whenever I can. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. And you get the next question, David. There continues to be much negativity on social media in regards to our city staff, city council, and other community concerns. Seasoned residents often discuss this golden age of Oldsmar, where people really got along and solved problems. That doesn't appear to be the case now. What steps will you take to decrease the negativity and foster a more collaborative and positive environment?
I totally 100% agree with you. I didn't realize that until I started running for this office, how much negativity there can be out there. And, I think what we need to do is we need to try to bring these people together. And I don't know if that's having, open forums where we can bring these different ideas, say, okay, you've got this thought, this idea, you've got this thought, this idea. Why don't we try to bring these people together, get the answers instead of, slinging mud back and forth against each other, trying to make points. I'm not a big fan of social media. I never have. It's, kind of hit and run type thing. And I think open conversation between, individuals and citizens of Oldsmar would definitely help correct this problem. So, that's my feeling on it. If we can get the people together in a community forum, I'm all for it.
Great, thank you. Sean, do you want me to read the question? Yeah, it's kind of long. There continues to be much negativity on social media in regards to our city staff, city council, and other community concerns. Seasoned residents often discuss this golden age of Oldsmar where people really got along and solved problems. That doesn't appear to be the case now. What steps will you take to decrease the negativity and foster a more collaborative and positive environment?
Lead by example. The city council is not responsible for controlling how people act and behave on social media, but we are responsible for how we act and behave in real life.
Short and sweet, to the point. Okay. All right, next question is going to be, oh, okay. We are at the point now where you will have the opportunity to ask your opponent a question. And so, Sean, we would start with you asking David a question.
Mr. Pratt,
Yes, Sean.
there's roughly $42 million in unfunded capital improvement projects. What's your ideas to shorten that gap and how?
Well, I think it's very important, like I stated earlier, is that we need to bring more businesses to Oldsmar. We don't need to raise taxes on the individuals that have had massive insurance increases, both homeowners, flood insurance, and, you know, to burden these people right now, and after the hurricane, to burden these people right now with a mill rate increase is just totally ridiculous. We can make the money. We just got to bring the business back to Oldsmar. Instead of us losing businesses, let's do what we can to bring the businesses back.
All right, thank you. Now you get to ask Sean a question.
Well, Sean I had a question for Sean, he kind of answered it, but let me ask him this. In regards to the downtown development, at one time you stated you thought it'd be a great place for building a USF campus. Are you still in favor of that? And why?
Absolutely, I'm in favor of that, especially being a USF alumni. I'd love for them to have a satellite campus. And the idea is, again, having something that's relevant to our city. And we're on the water, so why not? What better reason for a marine biology program right here in our home, in our town? So yes, I'm still a proponent for something like that. And education is everything. So yes, yes, and yes.
All right, thank you. All right, we started out and Sean had the first question and we go in reverse order for closing statements. So that means you, David, 2 minutes for closing statements.
Okay. Like I said before, I'm a virtual unknown, and, you know, a lot of people say, hey, David, what do you stand for? What do you like? What don't you like? And I put a little list together of things that I don't like about the city that I think we can improve on, changes that I think we can enact on. And I'll just read through this list really quickly. We've got this high-rise, 6-story, whatever, apartment building that's proposed. I'm against it. Storm preparedness is something that we've got to take very, very, very seriously, and I'm all for that. Code enforcement has been a big issue from a lot of the residents that I've talked to and sat down with, and I think it's something we have to take a closer look at. I know we need some infrastructure improvement, especially looking at this project across the street. I don't know where we're going to put 500 cars. I don't know how they're going to get on Tampa Road. I don't know how they're going to get off of 580. I don't know how we're going to be able to handle the utilities for that, you know, the additional wastewater. How about the schools? So that's something that is top on my mind. I'm also for single-family home affordable housing project. If we could find some land to do something like that. There's people out there that need to buy homes, but they can't buy a home on the south side of Tampa Road because of the flood insurance knocks them right out of qualifying for anything. I think if we can find some property, Begbauer or Steel, to find some areas that we can sit there and construct some, you know, single-family residents to help build this community, that would be great. The other thing, I think that we've got to support our veterans, our first responders, and our fire department. Very, very important. And I've been lucky enough to be endorsed by Jerry Beaverland, and he mentioned something to me that I thought would be a great idea at Veterans Park to build a Freedom Trail where we have monuments depicting all the different wars and battles and, you know, running around the Veterans Park. Sell bricks in the walkway to help pay for it. Get contributions from companies to help pay for it. And I'll shut up now. Thank you.
Okay, closing statement, Sean, 2 minutes.
All right, thank you all for your time and attention here tonight, and for those watching at home and others who will watch during the replays. A lot of you may or may not have made up your mind tonight before attending, and that's okay. If it wasn't to vote for me, I hope I've given you at least some perspective and some things to consider, and at least consider me and reach out to me for further dialogue. My only agenda is Oldsmar and our prosperous future. My areas of focus, again, include enhancing public safety, maintaining and making improvements to to our infrastructure, smart downtown growth, and preserving property rights for our residents. Allow me to bring my experience, technical, and financial skills to Oldsmar. I'm proud and honored to share I've been endorsed by the last 3 mayors of the city of Oldsmar, including Pinellas County Commissioner David Eggers. While Mayor Jerry Beaverland chose the wrong candidate to support this time, we all make mistakes. I know he still loves me, and I still have the utmost respect for him. Just as his late brother Jack did for me when he was my mentor in 4th and 5th grade at Oldsmar Elementary. I support his ideas for the Veterans Memorial Walk of Honor. I'm also proud to share my family was featured in the Oldsmar Neighbors magazine for January. I forgot to bring it for the Vanna White presentation, but let me know if you need a copy. So not only am I the best candidate for seat 4, but I'm also the most qualified and prepared. I'm confident I'm the right choice for you, and I'm so ready to get to work. Call me with questions, 727-415-6220. Go to my website, SeanForOldsmar.com. That's Sean, the number 4, Oldsmar.com. And last but not least, vote for Sean Swager on March 11th for Oldsmar City Council, seat 4. Let us all embrace history, shape today, and build tomorrow. Thank you.
All right, and now applause is appropriate. David and Sean, I need a photo for our website.
Of course.
Ooh, a photo.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, legal photos. How about this?
Yeah, that's perfect. I love it. Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll have a brief break, and then we will have the mayoral candidates come up.
Great job.
Thank you.
Good job. Got everything?
I think so.
Okay, perfect.
Got my wallet.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. She won? Okay, the coin toss? Great. All right. All right, if we can start to take our seats so that we can listen to our mayoral candidates. And it will be the same format. There will be 2 minutes for an opening statement, 1 minute for questions. Then we will go to the round of each candidate asking the other a question, and then 2 minutes for a closing statement. I will just remind the candidates that this is a forum, so if you do want to respond to one of the candidates, your other candidates' answer, you can do that in your closing statement, so that we can keep it moving with asking a lot of questions that the residents have already written and would like to ask. Okay? We're going to start with Katie. Opening statement, 2 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you to the League for coming tonight to moderate. Thank you so much for everybody for being here. I really appreciate the Chamber for hosting this event and promoting it. I'm so grateful for all of you for coming out tonight and for all of you watching, whichever camera it is, at home who will enjoy this. And, you know, it's really important to have everyone's participation tonight. I am a longtime Oldsmar resident. I've been here since 3rd grade, since I was 7 years old. My family moved to Oldsmar. My mother's out there in the audience smiling at me. Back when I moved here, gosh, Tampa Road was 2 lanes. McMullen Booth was 2 lanes. You know, we've had a lot of changes since then. My brother and I were playing on the wooden playground over at R.E. Olds Park. And, you know, a lot has been developed and changed since then. And you know, this is my hometown. I couldn't wait to be of service to my city. I was first elected in 2019. I've served 2 terms here on council, 1 unopposed. I ran because nobody up here looked like me. There were no women and no, you know, parents, young families. I see Val out there nodding in the audience. She's right. I am a mom. I have a nice little picture of my 2 kiddos on the Oldsmar magazine. That's them, Jackson and Madison. Jackson's 8, Maddie's 6, and they are my everything. They go to Oldsmar Elementary School. I am a board member. I have been a board member for Leadership Pinellas. I have been on the Forward Pinellas School Transportation Safety Committee. I'm Oldsmar's delegate to the Florida League of Cities Suncoast League. My integrity, accountability, empathy, knowledge, and my communication skills make me the best candidate for mayor. We have 15 seconds. We need a leader to unite us, move us forward into the future, and engage our residents. So I'm asking for your vote to become the next mayor of Oldsmar, the 3rd female mayor of Oldsmar.
All right, Dan.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce and thank you to the Women League of Voters for making this event possible tonight. I'm your mayor, Dan Saracki. I'm running for a 2nd term as Oldsmar mayor. I'm proud to have served the city council for 10 years and continue to be your full-time mayor. My public service and community involvement are driven by genuine desire to serve the Oldsmar residents. Whenever speaking to students at the elementary school, serving as chair of the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority, or collaborating with others on board of directors of the Florida League of Mayors, I always perform my duties with dedication and integrity. Transparency is key to my leadership. Open decision-making fosters trust and unity. I aim for an inclusive environment where everyone feels heard and valued. I have no hidden agenda and remain committed to respect and collaboration. Let's work together to create a united community. I treat everyone with respect, no matter how they treat me. Respect is fundamental to building a cohesive community. I hope to inspire a ripple effect of kindness and understanding. To the citizens of Oldsmar, thank you for your support and for spending time with me as I visited your homes the last few weeks and listening to your concerns. I will continue to advocate for smart growth around the existing residential areas with biking, golf carts, and community event space. I heard your voices loud and clear, which is why I alone have always voted against density increase. My goal as mayor is clear. I am a servant to the people, not politics or special interests. I continue to focus on improvements to our infrastructure, sewer plant, safe transportation, and parks. I often visit Tallahassee and meet with lawmakers to ensure the needs of all Oldsmar residents are heard. Rest assured, I'll always go above and beyond whatever Oldsmar needs. I am ready for your questions. Let's go.
All right, thank you, Dan, and you do get the first question. All right. Affordable housing is a growing crisis throughout Florida. What would you do to help alleviate the skyrocketing costs of home ownership, apartment rentals, which are an incredible burden for many young adults?
That is a great question. Affordable housing is a very serious area for our city of Oldsmar. As the mayor, I've been attending the Chamber of Commerce We Mean Business on Friday mornings. And when I attend that with the Chamber of Commerce, every business says the same thing. All their employees are not living in the city of Oldsmar. They either live in Pasco County or they live somewhere else in Hillsborough County. They don't live around this area. It's a serious issue. I've come up with some plans for affordable housing in Oldsmar. I've been working with the city manager and the city staff where we could maybe someday use some of our land for those projects. A problem is, unfortunately, we don't have the financial or the income to do that. But there's ways to get that, and I'm going to continue to work on affordable housing in the city of Oldsmar.
All right, thank you. Katie, same question.
Thank you. The mayor is right. We do have an inadequate supply of affordable housing. Here in Oldsmar, we have two big A, capital A, affordable housing areas, the East Lake Club apartments as well as the Westminster apartments. But, there is an issue, and flood insurance is required in many areas beyond the downtown. We need workforce housing, which the mayor referred to. Workforce housing is the housing that people who do jobs in our city so that they can afford to live and work where they live. So I would want to continue to work with agencies and organizations to meet this regional challenge, really, because this is a challenge for all of Pinellas County. And we need to hold our legislative delegation accountable to the promises that they have made. And those promises include reducing insurance burdens and property taxes. So it's not just a single issue, it's a multi-issue. The Live Local Act also does require us as a city to identify developed areas of land that can be developed for affordable housing. So I want to make sure that we have the ability to maintain control over that.
All right, thank you. And Katie, you get the next question. What is your position on the City of Oldsmar's current downtown redevelopment plan? Is the city moving in the right direction? Yes or no?
I think the city is moving in the right direction. And the reason that I say that is because we have created over the past several years, which was born out of the downtown discussion, a system of transparency and more communication with our residents than ever before. I think continuing to collaborate in that manner on not just the downtown issue, but on every issue is critically important. I think we're moving in the right direction in that we sent out a letter of intent. We have requested proposals with very specific things that we want and don't want. I think it's important to continue to maintain that transparency with all of our residents, to work collaboratively, have those open houses, have those discussions, and find a partner that works hand in hand with us to meet that goal of having something that is successful in the downtown area. Because we don't just want to have something to have something. And while it is an important issue, it's not the most important issue facing our city right now. So if something comes along that works for all of us, I'm in favor of it.
All right, great. Dan, same
Can you
question.
repeat that, please?
Sure. What is your position on the City of Oldsmar's current downtown redevelopment plan? Is the city moving in the right direction?
Absolutely. I truly believe that we are on the right path right now. We had a workshop a couple months ago where the council all got together with the developer and our city staff, and we discussed the opportunity of a new downtown with open space, parks, golf cart access, bike access. We all discussed maybe 2 stories, 3 stories, not 6 stories. So the developer, I'm sure, is working with our city staff to come up with some ideas for the future, that this item will definitely be talked about again in the future.
Okay, great. All right, and you get the next question, Dan. Excuse me. What do you see as the biggest challenge facing the city of Oldsmar, and how do you plan to address it?
Well, that's a good question. The team before us mentioned that the hurricane right now is a serious problem we've had with the citizens in our city. There are a lot of families that are still displaced. They do not have their permits. They can't move back into their homes. They can't rebuild. Went to the local schools here in Oldsmar, and a lot of families have left our city because they don't have their homes anymore here in the city. So the first problem that needs to be addressed is that we are resiliency ready for next hurricane season, so that we can be prepared a little bit more in advance. I truly believe our city has done an amazing job with getting rid of the trash, taking care of the hurricanes, but our biggest situation right now is the permitting process and getting our residents back in their homes.
All right, thank you. Katie?
Yes, I agree. The biggest issue facing our city right now is recovering from these hurricanes. We had not just Tropical Storm Debbie last summer, we also had Hurricane Helene. Then in the middle, we had a flash flood incident, and then we had Hurricane Milton as well. And there are, as was mentioned, building permit issues with the county. Our permits are not issued, our building permits are not issued by the city, they're issued by the county. The substantial damage assessment process is arduous at best. There's constantly changing information and requirements. I understand our residents' frustration. I cannot imagine what they are going through. Anything that we can do to better streamline the process and help them out. For example, we recently passed a code amendment on first reading to change the definition of some of the substantial improvements to help people with the look back period, so that, you know, maybe something they did just before the hurricane won't be counted toward their cumulative. I've also placed on the agenda for this next meeting, I've requested that we add a letter to send to President Trump to ask them for ways that we can streamline this process for our residents and to make it easier and faster to get back in their homes.
All right, thank you. And you get the next question, Katie. What are your plans to help with stormwater and drainage throughout Oldsmar?
Oh, that is something that has been mentioned to me many times on the campaign trail, actually. So we have a couple of things happening right now. We have a stormwater master plan that we're working on, and also a wastewater master plan. We have many old pipes down in Country Club area. We have a south Oldsmar, we call it, but it's Country Club Drive. That area consistently floods. Those pipes need to be replaced. The stormwater master plan is going to help us develop other areas and figure out other projects that we can do now before we have a pipe break, before we have another flooding event. And so the important part of master planning is that you can be proactive instead of reactive. And then you don't have huge disruptions in the budget mid-year. You have a plan to address the most critical areas first. Some of those most critical areas include the business district. We had flooding even over in Douglas Road area, in Forest Lakes. People couldn't get back to their homes. So we need to know what those areas are first, and that's what master planning can do. The same is true for our wastewater treatment facility that we are elevating. I have the stop sign.
All right, Dan, same question.
Can you repeat it, please?
Sure, I'm sorry. Let me find it on my list now. Yes. What are your plans to help with stormwater and drainage throughout Oldsmar?
Thank you. So our city actually is doing a survey right now on stormwater. So we're trying to get the residents involved. We're trying to get the people in our city involved to do that survey so we can have an educational, experience of what they feel needs to be done. I'm just going to give you a personal experience. During the flood, Moccasin Creek over by Harbor Palms completely backed up. I've never seen it like that. It backed up, and the water actually not only came up from the bay on Oak Leaf Boulevard, but it came down Moccasin Creek from the north, and it filled the whole street on Oak Leaf Boulevard. So our master plan, I agree with Councilmember Gannon, we need to set a plan in place so that our city is on top of this before our next storm. Moccasin Creek needs to be, dredged out. Other areas in Oldsmar need to be fixed so that next time this happens, we are prepared rather than not prepared.
All right, thank you. And you'll get the next question, Dan. This year's budget is very tight and made worse by the cost of the hurricanes. What are your ideas to bring new streams of revenue to the city?
That's a great question. So as the mayor, I go to Tallahassee quite often. I meet with legislators, the House representatives, the Senate representatives. I was recently there just a week and a half ago. And my goal for the city of Oldsmar is to try to obtain as much grant applications or opportunities with the American Flood Coalition that the city of Oldsmar is a member of to get grant money so that we can get more money into our city. Raising taxes is not the answer. Like the previous council member said, the previous people said that we don't want to raise taxes. The burden is on insurance, flood insurance, house insurance. The residents have enough expenses right now. So not raise taxes, but actually apply for grants with the state or federal grants to get money into our city.
Great, thank you. Katie, same question. Would you like for me to repeat it?
Please, thank you.
This year's budget is very tight and made worse by the cost of the hurricanes. What are your ideas to bring new streams of revenue to the city?
You make a very excellent point, and that's also true because we aren't sure what's going to happen with the housing market. We're not sure what our ad valorem dollars will be. We're not sure what the housing values will be. So I think the answer is closer. I think the answer is going down the street and finding out what's happening to these businesses. Why all of a sudden is Beechwood gone? Why is Salt Rock gone? I think our partnerships locally are important to find out what our local businesses need now and what we can do to help them. So for example, after the hurricanes, Beechwood was out of power for weeks. They lost their staff, they lost their raw materials. We need to find out what we can do to support the businesses that we already have and make sure that businesses we do have don't leave because of issues like flooding or go to Pasco County where they have workers. We need to make sure we have a place for them to live. Also, we need to get out of the business of development. We need to stop owning land. Right next door to us, we have the opportunity to develop some land and get anywhere between $350,000 to $370,000 a year in ad valorem dollars if we have a $50 million development project.
All right, thank you. And you get the next question, Katie. Is there any vote or decision on the council that you regret or would pursue differently?
In general, in the last 6 years?
I guess, yeah. They didn't specify a time period, so.
You know, we always have a certain amount of information up here when we make our decisions. It's important to consider all of that information and make decisions that are in the best interest of the entire community and not just the vocal few. But our council has the ability to reconsider things at any time. If new information is presented or if new challenges are presented, it is our job to make sure we revisit those items. I don't think of anything right now offhand that I would change my vote again. If anything, I would like to try to ensure we do more of what we're doing now. which is continuing to have transparency and involvement of our citizens. We've really stepped that up, and I think that improves the decision-making process overall, having more input, whether it's surveys, whether it's online information, whether people are coming to town hall meetings, participating in any sort of city event where they're learning or gaining more information, and giving us that feedback. I think that is the most important part of our decision-making process.
Great, thank you. Dan, same question. I'm happy to repeat it.
Yes, please.
Is there any vote or decision on the council that you regret or would pursue differently?
So, as Councilmember Gannon said, my wife thinks I'm crazy. On Sunday nights, I got this book for the council meetings, and I study and read while she watches TV. And I'm there studying on Sunday nights. It is so important that every decision that we make as an elected official, we have to do our homework, we have to educate ourselves. I don't regret any decision I have ever made on this council. I truly believe that every decision I voted on is for the residents of this city. It's for the people of this city. And as Councilmember Gannon said, we have open houses, 3 open houses. We get the residents involved. We want to hear their voice, and that's why it's so important for me to do my homework and make sure whenever I vote with my heart and for the citizens of this city.
Great, thank you. And you get the next question, Dan.
All right.
What steps would you take to limit the preemption of local home rule authority that is coming from Tallahassee to protect the city of Oldsmar's autonomy on local issues?
So as a big advocate of the Florida League of Cities and being a member for the last 10 years of the Florida League of Cities, going to Tallahassee and advocating for the citizens of Oldsmar, home rule is so important for our citizens. It's your voice. It's basically me being the liaison. When I go to Tallahassee, I listen to what you say, and I tell our state representatives and our Senate people, this is what our city is asking for. Home rule is so important right now because Tallahassee is trying to take away the rights of us to govern our own city. That must never be taken away. And as mayor, I will always fight for the right of the people's voice for the state of Florida and the city of Oldsmar.
Thank you. Katie, same question. What steps would you take to limit the preemption of local home rule authority that comes from Tallahassee to protect the city of Oldsmar's autonomy on local issues?
So this is a reality. Preemptions are going to continue to come. Unfunded mandates are going to continue to come, which means, you cities do this, and by the way, we're not going to provide you any money to do with it. Good luck. So a recent example of one of our preemptions that I was dealing with, the state a couple of years ago passed a new piece of legislation that required all schools to start around 8:00 a.m. To make sure that high school students aren't waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get to school. Well, that might work for certain areas. That might work for very rural areas, but I serve on the Fort Pinellas School Transportation Safety Committee, and that is a disaster for Pinellas County. We cannot move residents from South County to North County within the time that it takes. Like, you'd have to be on US 19 for an hour to get these kids to school. So one of the solutions was maybe to start elementary students earlier. Well, then you have the littlest, most vulnerable kids out there in the dark. So being in touch with our state representatives, I've already been in touch with the representative out in Duval County who is requesting that power be given back to the counties, back to the local governments. Thank you, to make those decisions that work best for each.
Thank you. And you get the next question. The next question, transparency is the buzzword in our community. How do you plan to be transparent with residents in person and via social media?
Oh, this is a critical thing, yes. So to me, transparency is the words of Mark Twain. It's you tell the truth, that way you never have to remember anything. And sometimes the truth is something that we don't want to hear. Sometimes people are furious at me when I tell them, well, that is actually the code in Oldsmar, or that is the rule. But the key to transparency is also being transparent with the solution. Okay, well, let's change the code. How can we move from A to Z? To me, social media is a dangerous environment. It's not real life. It's an echo chamber for people who already agree with you. Transparency involves going out, talking to people, the good old-fashioned phone, finding out what folks' concerns are, and being honest with them about where we're at and where we can go together.
Great, thank you. Dan?
Repeat that, please.
Sure. Transparency is the buzzword in our community. How do you plan to be transparent with our residents in person and via social media?
In my opening statement, transparency is key to my leadership. Open discussion, making trust and unity in our community. That's my opening statement. I want to talk a little about social media or Facebook. I try not to stay off of that because it is sometimes so negative. I can't stomach it. My poor wife, she gets all upset and gets me upset, so I try to stay off of it. But we just need to just come together as a community. We just need to trust each other. We need to work together. Enough of the negativity. Let's just focus on the future of how we can have the greatest life. Let's face it, the city of Oldsmar is a great city. If I didn't think it was, I wouldn't be sitting up here. I'm trying to become mayor again for my last term. I love this city, and I know everyone in this room and everyone that's watching right now, they all love the city of Oldsmar. We need to come together with positive attitude, focus on the future, and all work together.
All right. Thank you, Dan. And you get this next question. These days, elected officials are frequently criticized in a very public way. If you find yourself the subject of public criticism, how would you respond?
Well, first of all, I'm just blessed that I go to church every Sunday. I believe in Jesus. I think he's my guiding light for these attacks on my poor wife and I on social media. I am focused on positive attitude for this city, just like I just mentioned. I believe that we can get over this negativity and move forward and become a great city, not a doubt in my mind. As I travel the state, when I go to Tallahassee or at the Florida League of Mayors or the Pinellas County League of Mayors, when I go to these meetings and deal with all the other mayors around this county or the state, everybody agrees. Everyone must work together, bring unity to a community, and that's what I foster and I'm focused on. Community engagement and friendship for the future.
Thank you. And Katie, same question. I'll read it. These days, elected officials are frequently criticized in a very public way. If you find yourself the subject of public criticism, how would you respond?
That has happened many times, indeed. And it's to be expected. You know, we serve a very important role, and, you know, sometimes people are going to be critical. And for me, the important thing to remember is that there's a lot more people out there that feel differently. You know, sometimes it's the same people that are being critical of every single thing we do, as opposed to being critical of just one or two decisions that we make. So, you know, I try to remember that even though somebody might be critical of one particular decision, in the big, you know, we have this great saying in the Women's Club of Oldsmar, it is in the little things that we have differences, but in that great common human heart that unites us all, we are one. And I think we can find a lot more common ground than we have in differences. You know, I'm okay with a little bit of criticism because I know at the end of the day, the most important things for me are these two little faces waiting at home and, you know, the friends and the people out there who are doing the good things in the city of Oldsmar are really working hard to create that sense of unity.
Great, thank you. And you get the next question, Katie. This is such an interesting question. Is there a previous mayor you look up to or who mentored you? And if so, what did you learn from their style and how will you incorporate it in your service as mayor?
A previous mayor, you know, I want to make that question a little bit wider, if I might, because
Sure.
There's a previous council member who I look up to. Her name is Babe Wright. She is still around, and she is a no-nonsense woman. I love Babe because she tells it like it is, even if you don't like it. She's willing to work with anyone and everyone. I think it's important to have that sense of immediate accountability and honesty, regardless of the result, not telling people what they want to hear, but telling people the truth. And if they disagree with it, moving forward from there. And Babe, she took a lot of heat back in the days when newspaper journalism was a thing, right? And she's got one of my signs in her front yard, and I promised her I would do her proud. She's an incredible woman, and she still advocates for this city to this day. You can see her at open forum when she's really mad. She's still a firebrand.
All right, thank you. Dan, Is there a previous mayor you look up to or who mentored you, and what did you learn from their style, and how will you incorporate it into your service as mayor?
Well, that's a wonderful question. I absolutely love that. So I have two mayors. The first mayor is Jim Roniker. So what happened back in 2009 when I became my HOA president, the only way I could become president, I had to go door to door in my neighborhood. And I asked Jim, he was the mayor at that time, and he actually went door to door with me, and he helped me to actually understand how to speak to the residents when I knocked on their door. And he went one whole day on a Saturday. I'll never forget that. We spent the whole day together, and that was a great learning experience. The second mayor is Jerry Beaverland, and the reason why I respect him so much is because of his history. Being involved in the Historical Society since 2011, he has done so much for our city with the history he brought into us. He's taught me so much about our city, the history, and where we came from, and where our forefathers came from, and what they did, and how they built this city.
Great, thank you. And so you get the next question, Dan. Can you give us your thoughts about Oldsmar relationships with FEMA, and in the future, what you think you could do to improve it?
So in my particular situation, I have some flooding done to some properties. Unfortunately, I had homeowners insurance, but I didn't have flood insurance. So it's been a burden on my wife and I to actually come up with the finances to redo this. I reached out to FEMA, and of course, because it's not my residence, they said no. So I'm kind of disturbed with what's going on with FEMA. I've been involved going door to door to some of the homes in Oldsmar that are substantially damaged, and talking with those homeowners, trying to help them with the permit processes with FEMA, trying to find out how I can be a better servant and work with Pinellas County in chart with the permit process and working with FEMA. I truly believe that there's some data from the vendors that FEMA has hired when they do this analysis of these particular estimates for these homes. I'll stop.
Okay. Obviously, a lot of thoughts on FEMA. Katie, same question. Can you give us your thoughts about Oldsmar's relationship with FEMA and what you think you might do to make it a better relationship?
So our relationship with FEMA is, of course, regulatory in nature. We are part of the National Flood Insurance Program, and so as our choice to be part of that program, we have to abide by certain regulations. If we choose not to, of course, then we wouldn't be able to have certain federal funding, grants, homes would not be backed by, federally backed mortgages. So it's important that we maintain a working relationship with FEMA, even though as of late it has been frustrating. It's been frustrating to learn how this process works, the substantial damage assessment process, to work with some of their outdated tools, their spreadsheets, and to follow their requirements. The danger of not following their requirements is extraordinary, however. I know there's already one city in Pinellas County, Treasure Island, that has been warned for failure to perform assessments in the appropriate ways. We could be suspended from the program, we could be kicked out of the program, which penalizes everyone involved. So while it is difficult, it's important we continue to work through this process and help our residents the best that we can.
Great, thank you. And you get the next question. If you could amend one aspect of the zoning code to better support the city's growth and character, what would it be?
Is this for me?
Yes, it is.
Good. I think one of the first things that I would do is I would create minimum housing requirements. And this is particularly important in the code enforcement context because we've had a lot of different complaints about dilapidated homes, overgrowth. We have, older homes that didn't come through the hurricanes very well. If we had a code that had minimum housing requirements, you have to have water, you have to have electricity, you have to have certain things in order to be in compliance with our code, then we could enforce it a little bit more. That's one area that I would immediately look at. As I mentioned, we just changed the definition for the substantial improvements to help our residents with the look-back period. I think there's always areas that can be worked on in terms of improving our code, but to address a concern that's been brought up a lot recently in the code enforcement context would be minimum housing standards.
Okay, great, thank you. Dan, same question. If you could amend one aspect of the zoning code to better support the city's growth and character, what would it be?
So currently, with the hurricane and the flood situation, we have a lot of abandoned homes. And you can just drive around and you'll notice that no one's been living there and they're starting to fall apart. I just really feel that the whole code enforcement problem that our city is having right now, it needs to be a coalition with city council. We need to might even have a workshop on this with city staff, because we need to come up with a solution that works for all citizens in Oldsmar, so that we can figure out what zones and what codes need to be fixed, so that we can all work together to make it happen.
Great, thank you. And so now you will have the opportunity, Dan, to ask Katie a question, and she'll have an opportunity to ask you a question. So Dan.
I go first?
Yes.
All right, Katie, mine's easiest. So anyways, before I ask you your question, one of us is going to leave, and I just want to tell you, whatever happens, the 6 years I served with you was a treasure. I enjoy working with you. I think you're very intelligent, and I wanted to make sure I made that very clear to you. All right? So my question is, what do you think our city's biggest challenge is?
Oh, gosh, our biggest challenge, I mean, are you talking about aside from recovering
Anything,
from the
anything
hurricane?
you want to talk about.
I think our biggest challenge is finding ways financially to implement our infrastructure improvements. We have a lot of beautiful amenities in this city. It's important that we maintain them. Otherwise, things fall into disrepair and we lose what we loved so much. I think everything from, whether it's the floor over at the Cypress Forest Rec Center, or the HVAC at City Hall, or if it's the concession stand roof at Oldsmar Sports Complex, there's a lot of different things we need to maintain, and that includes our roads, repaving, fixing sidewalks. There's a lot to do and not a lot of money to do it with. So I think we need to, especially with this current budget climate and the ad valorem uncertainty, I think it's important we focus on those council priorities, those core things that we need to spend money on to make sure we provide that minimum level of service to our residents.
Perfect.
All right, and now Katie, you get to ask Dan a question.
Actually, mine is similar. In this sort of uncertain times with the budget, we're about to come into a new budget session. If you had to cut from the budget, where would you look? Where would you start?
Well, first of all, I don't think we need to cut any budget at all. I think we're fine where our budget is. I think that we need to focus more on getting capital funds from either the state or federal. Being on PSTA, I've noticed that their staff is really aggressive in trying to find grant opportunities, some kind of funding for infrastructure projects. Our city does a great job with our lobbyists doing that, but I think we actually need to take it a step further. We need to really advance, and the whole council with city staff, we all need to come together on how we can find revenue, bring in more revenue into our city of Oldsmar so that we can improve our infrastructure. That's my focus right now. That's where I'm thinking. But that's good.
All right.
Before we leave that moment, I just wanted to also share that I really appreciate everything we've done working together, Dan.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. And to get to know and work with Paula on the Women's Club of Oldsmar. I know we will both continue to serve this city in whatever capacity it is.
Absolutely.
But it's been a real pleasure.
Yep, same here. Thank you very much, Katie.
Wonderful. All right, we go to closing statements now. Dan, 2
Okay,
minutes.
in closing, since 2015, when I was first elected to city council, I have been all in for Oldsmar. I have worked hard to be the voice of the people and protect their rights and interests. I've met with and assisted our neighbors who have been affected by the hurricanes. I'm an active member of the local organizations such as the Moose Club, the VFW. I support both elementary schools, Friends of the Arts. I encourage our future leaders in middle school, elementary schools, and Boy and Girl Scouts. I love speaking with the children. Their questions and enthusiasm are amazing. I will continue to foster community unity through open, transparent decision-making. The city council and I are a great team. Each one of us has one vote. Together, We can build a brighter future for everyone. I'd like to thank my wife Paula, the First Lady of Oldsmar, for all her support and her community spirit. She does so much for the city. I'm so grateful. Thank you to the Chamber and the Women's League of Voters again. God bless everyone. One other thing. I've been endorsed by the Sheriff of Pinellas County, Adam Anderson, our House Representative, and Anna Paulina Luna, our Congresswoman from the United States. So God bless everyone, the City of Oldsmar, the State of Florida, and the United States of America. Please vote on March 11th. I promise I will continue to do my best to serve you, the citizens of Oldsmar, as the full-time mayor 7 days a week. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Katie, 2 minutes, closing statement.
Thank you so much. I'd love to thank you for moderating tonight, Tanya. Thank you for being here. And to all the League of Women Voters volunteers, thank you for being here. And thank you all for coming. Thank you to the Chamber and for participating. If you passed up a question, thank you so much for sitting here and listening. I have the courage of my convictions to tell the truth, to move towards solutions, to choose action over awareness, to pick up a hammer and pull out your drywall with you, shoulder to shoulder, day after day, to do what's necessary to help our citizens move forward past this worst storm we've seen since Ari Olds was here. We are in unprecedented, challenging times, and we need strong, smart leaders willing to do the brave work of enacting change to benefit our citizens. Gosh, this past weekend I had a weed whacker instead of a hammer, but you know what I mean. To know what Oldsmar needs, I only need drive down the street. I only need to pick up the phone. My attention is not divided by other boards or ambitions. I choose Oldsmar. I choose our city. I have the heart and the brains to lead this council, to achieve our priorities, make budgetary decisions, to rebuild this city. It's been an absolute privilege to sit up here for the past 6 years and serve you. I want to leave this city better than when I found it. Increase financial stability, implement, all of those incredible goals we have from the climate resiliency plan, from our wastewater treatment plan. We have an opportunity here to set our city up with our new comprehensive plan for the next 40 years, for the growth that we need, for all of the infrastructure that we need. It takes smart planning. We're an award-winning city. I intend to keep it that way, honor our history, and restore and maintain its beauty. After you leave here, I ask you to re-request your mail ballot if you haven't already done so at votepinellas.gov, or go vote on March 11th for Katie Gannon for Mayor of Oldsmar.
All right, thank you. Applause for our candidates. If I can get a picture of you two.
She wants a picture.
Yeah, I gotta get a picture.
Hold on.
Does my hair look okay? Does Dan's hair look okay?
Dan's hair looks great. That's great.
I'm here.
Kate, if you could get one on either side of our sign and shake
Oh,
hands,
yeah.
that would be great.
Oh, like,
Yeah.
it's kind of awkward.
Love it. Thank you all so much. I appreciate it.
Your hands are nice and warm. My hands are freezing.
Yeah, Marco.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.